look at the price hikes announced yesterday. It's 18% on the 1st of April this year and a further 12% on the 1st of April next year. Combined, that means that there's going to be a 33% increase in electricity over the next 2 years. Now, what really sticks in customers' throats, I guess, is that at the same time as they're putting up the price by 33% over the next 2 years, we are experiencing 8 hours of load shedding in every 24 hours right now as we speak. That means 33% of the time we don't even have electricity, but they're wanting to put up the price by 33% over the next 2 years. And that's really sticks in the throats of consumers and business, etc., because business and industry and manufacturing and mining and agriculture and the person in the street is facing literally the loss of power for 33% of the time, and they're experiencing a 33% price increase over the next 2 years. That's a problem. And the impact on the economy and on the disposable income of consumers is going to be very high indeed. And I do believe that by putting up the price like this, there are diminishing returns for Eskom because more and more people will not be able to pay. And you cannot get blood out of a stone, much as you squeeze it. So there will be increasing levels of non-payment and theft of electricity, which is already a problem, and also a municipal arrear debt because the municipalities will not be able to collect money from their customers and therefore will not be able to pay what they owe to Eskom. So there are diminishing returns from price increases.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Advocate Mtho Xulu. He's the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Matthew Parks. He's from COSATU. He's the parliamentary coordinator there. A very good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. So there's a lot going on at the moment. Of course, we have the indefinite stage 6 load shedding on the one hand, and adding insult to injury, the 18.7% increase in electricity tariffs on the other. Just tell us, Advocate Xulu, what's SACCI's feeling about these developments?
Good afternoon, Nompu, and good afternoon, Matthew. The obvious outcome from the membership is total outrage from the membership of SACCI and obviously associated businesses that we are familiar with. The increase itself is probably unjustifiable from a commercial point of view, and we believe that anything beyond inflationary increase, which we think Eskom can reasonably get, is just simply punishing the consumers for lack of efficiency and uncontrollable losses at Eskom. So the membership is outraged. They are obviously considering their options, and they are pushing back on the increase and believe that NERSA should not have given them anything beyond a reasonable inflation-linked hike.
Now, Matthew, COSATU put out a statement this morning decrying the tariff increases, where you outlined your concerns. Just for the benefit of the viewers, what are some of the key concerns that you have in this regard, particularly as it pertains to workers?
Sure. So, no, thanks, and afternoon. So, look, we're quite worried because this is going to be a devastating blow to workers, to consumers, to the economy. Workers don't receive 18% increases. They're lucky to receive an inflation increase at all, which is at about 7%, and that's if they get an increase. Workers are highly indebted. They're supporting relatives who are unemployed, who won't find jobs easily. And also, I think, just take a step back, Nompu. We've been having this discussion since 2006. We've been having these double-digit electricity tariff hikes every year for the past 17 years now. Every time we've been told this time is the last time, will be sorted out afterwards. We're basically feeding an addiction to Eskom to give this kind of double-digit increases under some mirage is going to resolve the Eskom issues, and it doesn't, as you've all seen. As the slide by insert by Chris show that we're actually having a third less electricity right now, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel in that regard. And also, what we're doing, we're failing to resolve the fundamental crisis at Eskom. We're not addressing the issues. Instead, we're outsourcing the bill and saying to consumers, good luck, you're drowning in debt, but let's hope you can pay us. And we're saying to businesses, we hope you won't retrench workers, but pay us. We're hoping that the economy won't take another blow. This is going to fuel inflation, which might mean another repo rate hike by the Reserve Bank, which is going to suffocate the economy further. So I think for us, really, it's a devastating blow. It's unnecessary. And government really needs to get the courage to deal with the fundamental issues at Eskom and stop allowing Eskom and then by subsequent default, NERSA to outsource the bill to consumers who just don't have it. And then the last critical issue, as Chris also mentioned, Mtho, is that 30% of Eskom's consumers are the mining industry. They've got the money to go off-grid, and they will go off-grid because it doesn't make sense when they can't afford this kind of financial instability and bleeding, etc. What that means is that those who remain on Eskom's customer base will be the poor, people in the townships, people who can't afford to go off-grid, and that's going to make it even worse. It's going to be a death spiral for Eskom in essence.
Yeah. Advocate, to the point that Matthew was making around dealing with the fundamental problem at Eskom, well-known economist Davy Root was on the show yesterday saying that the only solution to the Eskom problem is to place the utility under business rescue. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Not on business rescue. I don't think that intervention is necessary as yet. I think we need to go back, and as Matthew is saying, that to get greater transparency on the fundamentals and work on how we are going to turn around that. The 11 units, for instance, that are out, Eskom has not even come out yet to explain who's responsible for the management of those units and what is causing some of this recurrence and this unexpected breakage. So I think before we get into business rescue, we still need greater sense of transparency about what the core problems of the generation fleet looks like. And that's really where we need to start at, because a business rescue process, is just really going to collapse the business. I don't think we are there yet. I think greater transparency and accountability on those who had undertaken the task, we need to bring that to the fore. For instance, we are still concerned the fact that the board itself has been in office for a quarter now, and they are yet to finalize a turnaround strategy. Whilst we were told that the board is properly capacitated and they understand the issues and they will hit the ground running, they themselves don't understand where we are. So there's all kinds of problems that you don't have transparency and accountability on those who are responsible for Eskom, and that's where we need to start. And business rescue, I don't think will solve the problems that South Africans are facing currently.
Yeah, Matthew, what are your thoughts? I mean, Advocate is saying business rescue not just yet. But we really are running out of time. We're in an emergency situation where we're not only lacking electricity, but it's going to have a knock-on effect on things like, water pumps and water availability. And then, of course, like you said, higher inflation because of the higher increases in the tariffs and so on and so forth. We're running out of time. We're getting to a point where we're really at an economic precipice. And of course, just last year in July, we were all applauding the president for the speech and the 10-point plan around the energy program, but it just doesn't seem to have come to fruition. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Look, first, we'll not be keen on a business rescue plan because we've seen with previous experiences, be it in SAA or the private sector, often what happens then is that the business rescuers come in and they just strip the assets. They don't care about the effect on consumers, on society, on employees, etc. I think for us what's critical is to deal with the 5 fundamental issues. And that's why COSATU had drafted in October 2019 and tabled to the president, to the ANC, to cabinet, an Eskom social compact. And that was signed at NEDLAC by government in December 2020. And we proposed clear roadmaps to deal with the 5 fundamental issues. One is the Eskom debt burden. It's too high, it's too unaffordable for Eskom, hence its addiction to these above inflation, double-digit tariff hikes. Take at least half of that, and government has been promising to take off at least half, if not 2/3 of Eskom debt. We hope that in the February budget speech by the Minister of Finance, we will do exactly that. The second one is to deal with the issue of corruption, wasteful expenditure. So Eskom's CEO has done a fair amount of work around tackling corruption and so forth, but we have not seen the law enforcement agency playing any role in supporting those efforts at Eskom. Eskom can do civil claims, they can recover money from Bain and McKinsey, etc., which is very good, but we need to see people being locked up and being sent to prison. From Eskom itself to the coal suppliers who supply shoddy, substandard coal, etc. We need to also assist Eskom with regards to ramping up maintenance, because you do have the infrastructure existing already. That's the quickest way to ease the load shedding in the immediate future. Give the resources necessary to Eskom in that regard. And of course, we've had the president making good speeches about addressing some of the regulatory blockages to getting new generation on board. Yet we see 18 months later, those blockages remain in place. So government has to pull its act together and address the issues. It's quite alarming, Mtho, that Eskom applied for a diesel import license from the Department of Mineral Resources, and they've been sitting on it. That would have helped to reduce the Eskom financial losses on diesel. That would have helped to reduce the load shedding burden, and that would have also helped to reduce the need for this, or Eskom's application rather, for this double-digit tariff hike. So we're not going to address those things. We're just simply, kicking the can down the road, and no one's going to save us. We have to show some leadership as government, as society, deal with the fundamental issues.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable that we want to have this discussion for 17 years, and we scratch our heads every time we're in a crisis, wondering why.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very frustrating what you point out about that whole diesel import license situation. Advocate, I want to end with you. It must be very frustrating for management when they make these applications and then they're not supported. And I just wanted to get a sense from you, being a business person, do you think anyone's going to have the guts to take over from Andre de Ruyter, given the fact that that position is really quite a poison chalice, if you like?
Yeah, it's possibly the most difficult job in South Africa, and we really hope that we can find a candidate that can take that job. We can't do without it, obviously. But I think it's going to be very important for us to be very clear about how we recruit, the kind of person that we recruit, and even probably before appointment, be able to make certain commitments on how we support that candidate. Because if you're just going to depend on one candidate, you've seen with Andre and other officials, you can't turn the ship around alone. So we would expect that the board must at least first come out with a very clear and strategic recruitment plan that will entice high-powered executives to apply for the job. And then once they're in the office, we need to give them the necessary support, because we're just going to have another failed CEO if we don't change the way we support the executives and the board of Eskom.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I was joined there by Mtho. He's the president of SABC, and of course, Matthew Parks. He's the parliamentary coordinator at COSATU.